Joining me now from Washington, D.C. is the president of the Conservative Hispanic Leadership Council, Ivan Garcia-Hidalgo, along with the former deputy spokesman for the Democratic National Committee, Jose Aristimuno. And rounding out our panel in Scottsdale, Arizona, is former Democratic Congressional candidate Deedra Abboud. I thank you all for joining us on the Newsmakers. Ivan, you happy with the results?
Absolutely, absolutely. Great night for the president. Historic wins in the Senate, kept the losses in the House at a minimum. Fantastic night, fantastic night.
So let me then ask you if it's slightly bittersweet, because a lot of the rhetoric and a lot of the campaigning was done along the lines of, we're under attack, let's keep out those immigrants, let's keep out the other. Did the politics of fear help the Republicans keep hold of the Senate, Ivan?
Historically, every president that holds his White House gets absolutely pounded in their first midterm, and we saw that not only that did not happen, but we actually picked up possibly 5 seats in the Senate. There's still some results that are still too close to call, but it'll probably end up being with 5 seats in the Senate. Those senators that lost their seats were those that voted against Judge Kavanaugh. I think the American people saw what the Democratic Party was about. And we saw a couple different things, right? We saw where former President Trump went out there and campaigned personally and extensively for his candidates. And President Trump went and did the same, and they had head-to-head battles. President Trump won that.
Right.
So it was a vindication.
Certainly, it's a vindication.
The president can still get out the base.
He can get out the base. But my question to you is, did he have to push a xenophobic, anti-other, anti-immigration type of story? And did all those Republican candidates have to do that in order to get out the base 2 years after Trump was elected?
Well, I don't think it was xenophobic or anti-immigrant. I think it's illegal immigration. That's what it is. I mean, this country welcomes immigrants every day. They just have to come here legally and through the right channels. You can't just have 17,000 people charge your border. That's not how it works.
Jose?
Look, it was a great night for Democrats. I don't know what fantasy world Ivan likes to live in, but we flipped at least 29 House races across the country, seven governor races across the country, and we now control the House. So we finally have a check on the president, a check on Republicans. We're not going to allow this president for the next 2 years to get away with this anti-immigrant rhetoric and racist rhetoric that we have seen in the past 2 years. If the president wants to have a successful presidency, he's going to have to work with the Democrats. And we are willing to work with him, but it's got to be realistic solutions that the American people are looking for. The reason that we were able to win last night is because we stayed on message throughout the country. We knew that healthcare was the #1 issue that Americans care about, and we talked about it. We talked about expanding Medicaid, expanding Medicare, and not cutting it and gutting it like Republicans have been trying. Mitch McConnell and his buddies up in Washington have been doing for the last couple of months. So I am optimistic. We've been able to rally up our bases. Although we did not win, I'm disappointed in Florida. I'm disappointed in Texas. Latinos across the country came out and voted. We broke records, and I think this is a start. This is a start of what's going to happen in come 2020. We're going to take back the Senate in 2020, and we're going to win back the presidency.
Okay, so Deedra Abboud, let me ask you, let me come at you with this question from a different perspective, Deedra Abboud. We've heard 2 different perspectives here vis-a-vis the Trump administration and the tone he's setting, and whether the United States is a country that's still welcoming to migrants, that's welcoming to, the concept of the other. After these midterms, what should we be looking at? A victory for progressive politics, for example, by the Democrats taking the House of Representatives, or the fact that the Republicans still retain the Senate and got a few more seats, as we heard, because they used language such as there's a migrant caravan coming and you got to kind of lock up your home and you got to send the troops because we're under attack. Which one is it, Deedra Abboud?
Well, a lot of the big wins that we saw across the country, the unexpected wins, the so-called labeled progressives, I would like to say that the real difference was that they were different, that they had very strong messages, that they were very clear on where they stood on issues, and they didn't try to just cater to whoever was listening. And that's something that I think that Democrats going forward are going to do and should do, be very strong on the message. In Arizona, our Senate seat, actually all of our federal seats, are still up in the air. So we're definitely a determining state. It's going to take several days. And Arizona picked up a lot of seats on the local elections because we were ground zero for SB 1070, the original anti-immigration movement. And lastly, coming to the borders and asking for asylum is a completely legal way to come to the United States.
So, Deedra, in Arizona, how do people feel about immigration? I guess, you know, it's very different to feel, you can feel very differently about immigration in New York compared to in a state like Arizona on the border, right? Tell me how the message went to the masses, especially from the Republican side. Tell me what it was like to hear the messaging and to see the messaging coming through from those who were aligned with the president. What was it like? What kind of tone and atmosphere were they creating?
Well, I mean, we obviously had a lot of negative ads, and a lot of it focused more on immigration than anything. And definitely the refugee caravan, the fear of the border, we've got to have walls. Even though most of Arizona, other than the desert, some mountains and some water, is already under a wall. It really was on the ground is where we felt it. Seeing the different Republican candidates continue to exercise the anti-immigrant rhetoric, we saw on the ground, see it across the country, that individual people are feeling empowered to go up to total strangers that in their mind, they perceive them to be some kind of a foreigner and immediately accuse them of being illegal or their family being illegal. And, you know, going to the grocery store has become very taxing for a lot of people who have whatever stereotype of the day is going to get them attacked by people who are following this rhetoric that is supposedly from our leaders. Leaders lead. We cannot continue to encourage normal people to attack their neighbors based on otherness just to win elections.
Right. So, Ivan, the fact that the Democrats now control the House of Representatives means that Trump's never going to get that wall, at least not for the next 2 years, right? So while the stories are going out that our borders are not safe and we need to protect the southern border, the reality is for the next 2 years, is the wall off the table, Ivan?
Well, you know, you know, Jose is a little confused. I understand they're trying to celebrate something that's a loss. But look, the Democrats right now are not in any kind of driver's seat.
We took back the House, Ivan. We took back the House. How is that a loss? Please explain to me. Please explain to me how that
means absolutely nothing.
We took back the House.
All it means, because you guys got spanked and you lost 5 Senate seats, and that is huge. We will continue to appoint judges. Ginsburg will probably be gone next year, so that'll be a 3rd Supreme Court judge. We'll continue to get confirmations, and the economy is humming. It continues to grow. The Democrats in the House are going to do nothing but obstruct.
Is that why
so it's a win for the president.
Let me ask you a question.
It's an absolute win for the president.
Is that why
the Democrats have nothing? The only thing the Democrats propose in this election was socialism, which leads to misery, chaos, destruction, and corruption.
Okay, I've got a question for both of you, right? So I'm gonna start with Ivan first and then Jose. Ivan, I asked the question because Trump is very passionate about the wall. For example, it helps him get votes, it helps create an atmosphere. But in the final analysis, when we look at the reality for the next 2 years, at least until 2020, there isn't going to be a wall because you have a Democratic-controlled House of Representatives, right? The stuff that you need to build the wall is not going to get passed through. The president still sees the election as a victory. He doesn't care. So those voters who are also passionate about a wall are being let down. They've been taken for a ride, haven't they, Ivan?
Well, no. I mean, I think when you look at that situation, that's going to be on the ballot on 2020. We need to retake the House, and we need to elect the Republicans that are going to vote with the president. Unfortunately, we had a bunch of Republicans that are anti-Trump. They're a political establishment, that they're more interested in their own well-being in their own pockets than the well-being in the pockets of the American people. Just like Democrats. They have no intention of fixing immigration. They use immigration as a political football, and they use Hispanics for votes like they use the blacks.
That's not true.
And that's something that's despicable.
No,
and you know, and it's gonna come to fruition in 2020. We will see
fake news.
Excuse me. The only thing we're going to see over the next 2 years is more investigation, more political witch hunts. They're going to amount to absolutely nothing, and the American people are going to make them pay at the polls.
Okay,
that's what's going to happen.
Jose, have the Democrats been using Hispanics and other minorities for votes? Have they been the insincere ones?
Absolutely not, and let me tell you why. A majority of Hispanic Americans across this country.
That's right. Absolutely not. They haven't been sincere.
We have been the ones. We have been the one. Ivan, look, listen. A majority, and these are numbers. I'm not talking about fake news. I'm not talking about Fox. I'm talking about the reality. Majority of Hispanic Americans in this country support the Democratic Party. They support us because we've been protecting them since day one. We've been allowing them. We've been trying our best. This is
53% of Hispanics oppose illegal immigration. Jose.
It was DACA forward.
53%.
It was DACA.
53% of Hispanics oppose illegal immigration.
Who put DACA forward. It was. Listen, no. Let's
President Obama that deported 39 million Hispanics.
Let's talk numbers. No one's gonna look. Ivan is like President Trump.
Yeah, I'm talking
numbers.
He's a bully.
He likes to
Obama deported 3.5 million.
He's scared that I'm telling the truth.
53% of Hispanics oppose illegal immigration.
Well, let me go again. Ready? Let me make a comparison. Let me make a comparison. President Trump likes to go against the media. He likes to say that the media is the enemy of the people. He says that every single day. President Trump is trying to change the Constitution and take away the rights of people who were born in this country. That's President Trump for you, just like Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, just like dictatorships in Cuba. That's President Trump. They're very similar in their body language, the way that they speak is the same thing.
Right.
President Obama recognized that the only way that he needed to stop deporting people, he deported a lot of people, I'm with you, but the only way that he could stop deporting people is that if we pass comprehensive immigration reform. That is why the Senate, which was controlled by Democrats in 2013, we passed a comprehensive immigration plan. And who was the ones to stop it? The Republicans in the House. This is why Latinos remember. This is why Latinos continue to help Democrats win seats across the country.
Okay.
So let me tell you, if you guys we're on day one. On day one, Ivan, if you have the rhetoric from day one day after the midterm elections, that Democrats are here only to investigate and we don't want to work together with you guys, you're making it really tough so that we can actually work together in the interest of the American people.
I'm going to thank you here. I thank you both for joining us here on the Newsmakers. Ivan, stick around.
Thanks a lot.
We've got a few more minutes with you.